This week on the Journal editorial report, the president bypasses Congress on immigration, setting him on a collision course with the GOP. Can Republicans respond before it's too late? Plus, Democrats move to the left after their midterm drubbing, with Elizabeth Warren emerging as the party's new darling. What it means for 2016. And a gruesome attack on a Jerusalem synagogue elicits a tepid U.S. response. Bret Stephens on America's global retreat and the coming world disorder.
There are actions I have the legal authority to take as president, the same kinds of actions taken by Democratic and Republican presidents before me, that will help make our immigration system more fair and more just. Tonight, I'm announcing those actions.
Welcome to the Journal editorial report. I'm Stuart Varney in This Week for Paul Gigot. Well, he did it. Despite warnings from Republicans and even some Democrats, President Obama announced Thursday that he'll sidestep Congress and go it alone on immigration, using executive action to shield millions of people in the U.S. illegally from deportation. Republicans on Capitol Hill are promising to fight the move, and some GOP governors are also even eyeing lawsuits. But are the president's actions really reversible? Let's ask. Wall Street Journal columnist and deputy editor Dan Henninger, political diary editor Jason Riley, and Washington columnist Kim Strassel. Dan, to you first. Is this reversible?
I think it may well be reversible, Stuart, and I think it probably should be challenged in court. This is a president who's had an extremely unprecedentedly expansive view of his own authority. That authority was overruled 9-0 by the Supreme Court earlier this year, his interpretation of his appointment powers, his recess appointment powers. That didn't fly in the Supreme Court. This legal authority that he's citing rests solely on his interpretation of the phrase prosecutorial discretion, which we're going to hear a lot about. If you read the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel memorandum defending this, which they put out an hour before the speech, this document is very ambivalent about whether he has this authority. Ultimately, they says that he does have the authority, but there are parts of it that suggest that maybe it's not as expansive as he is conveying in this speech.
Quickly, time frame. If you try to reverse it through the courts, time frame.
Well, it would probably take at least a year. I mean, you've got states that are going to have to file. It would be like Obamacare. And again, the challenges to his interpretation of his authority to rewrite the Obamacare laws. Those too have been in part overturned in the courts. I think he's very vulnerable on this.
Kim Strassel, does this fundamentally change the way America is governed?
Well, look, I think Dan's right about maybe this is reversible through the courts. What is more complicated is politically. Because, look, what the president done here is dictate terms. The White House keeps claiming that all it's doing is encouraging Republicans to do a bill, asking them to send them something. But, in fact, they have already said these are the people that we are allowing staying, 5 million of them. How do Republicans come back with any bill that they give him if they don't specifically hew to the contours of the policy that he's already laid out? Would he sign that? So he is, in fact, telling them what to do. And I think, too, the White House has not considered what this precedent means. If you were, for instance, to have a Republican president, the Republicans are looking at this. They've looked at the way he's suspended laws, not enforced them, and you are setting a precedent by which other future presidents could do a lot of things that Democrats wouldn't like. And I think it's a very concerning turn for the country.
Jason?
He's done something he said repeatedly he could not do. So he's made a reversal there. But he's not only defying Congress, Stuart, he's defying the American people. Most people in this country want immigration reform, even of the type President Obama does, meaning comprehensive reform and a path to citizenship for people here illegally, provided they meet certain conditions. But most Americans also don't want it done this way. The polls have repeatedly shown that. And the American people said that on Election Day in November, when they gave President Obama a Republican Congress to work with. They want this done the right way.
But if the Republicans oppose it and try to repeal it or reverse it, do they become the party of deportation? I mean, I can see that as a piece of demagoguery that's coming.
You're going to get defund attempts. You're going to get attempts to override this. You're going to get governors suing. You may get nominees held up that the president wants to pass through. They will try this, and they have to be very careful as not to not be painted that way or to avoid having the Democrats push that, because I think that's what the president has shown here. He wants the issue. He does not want a solution. solution. This is not a solution to the problems. It does not address the economic incentives that are driving illegal immigration. He wants this issue.
Kim, what are the dangers for the Democrats?
I think the dangers for the Democrats are what you see Republicans really pushing on right now. This president has already had a reputation. It was an issue in the midterm elections about people feeling that he is unlawful in many of his actions, that he has overstepped his authorities as president. And that theme is going to be magnified now. And there's a lot of attention. I think, too, look, interesting how much the White House and the president stressed in its briefings and the president's speech the fact that they're securing the border, that they're doing much more to sort of stop illegal immigration. They know that, especially given the controversy earlier this year with the children crossing the border, there are a lot of people, even moderates and independents, that are very worried that this president doesn't have a handle on the immigration system. And so this also risks sort of worrying that community of Americans even more, that he is doing this for political reasons and not doing it with, as Jason said, a sound, lasting solution in mind. Doing it for political reasons, Dan. The tone of the remarks on Thursday night really did appear to be quite sarcastic, almost campaign style, actually. What do you think? Well, yeah, I think there's a lot to the fact that he is just waving his hand and expecting the Immigration Service to now undertake the registration and background checks for 5 million people. So you've got, say, 1,000 immigration officers are going to take on and decide who among 5 million people can work. It sounds like Ebola all over again. It's a mess, and it stays a mess. But it is an opportunity, and I think the House Democrats have to understand that they now are obliged, as Jason was suggesting, to produce a bill. And I think the American people will be watching to see whether a bill comes out of Congress that is as comprehensive as the subject needs. So it's an opportunity for them. I hope it's not one big bill. I don't think that's going to fly. I think it's going to have to be piecemeal, and it's probably going to start with border security, then high-skilled immigrants, then agricultural workers, and so forth. But they should. The Republican Congress should pass bills and put them on the president's desk and dare him to veto them. And bring it back through Congress. Got it. When we come back, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren emerges as the Democrats' new darling. So will she pull the party left and derail Hillary Clinton's chances in 2016?